Alright, so the last time that I saw you, we were talking about how to name ternary compounds. And I told you that you had to use the table out of the book to name some of these things. And the table is on page 268 in your book. It's table 9.3. These are all the polyatomic ions that you have to basically, you don't have to know all of these. I have a copy of this table on eCampus with certain ones crossed out. So I don't need you to know every single one of these. When you get a chance, go on eCampus. It's called Polyatomic Ions Table to Memorize. It's under this current module. That's what you have to memorize for the quizzes next week. There's only 14 of these that I need you to know. I don't need you to know all of them. But you need to memorize these in order to be able to name ternary compounds. If you don't have them, in your memory stores, you won't be able to name things at all. You're going to be stuck for the next couple chapters. I'm going to show you a little trick to where you might not have to necessarily write flashcards for all of these things. There are some that you can get out of this sentence here. Nick the camel ate a clam and Phoenix on top of crates. So this is a mnemonic device that's going to help you get some of the polyatomic ions that are on that table without actually having to write any flashcards or memorize any of them. Now, one of the things that you need to know about this sentence is that the first letter that I have capitalized, or the first two letters, is going to represent the first element in the polyatomics that are encrypted in this sentence. So like, for instance, we're going to do the polyatomic ion that starts with nitrogen or nitrate. That's why it's Nick the Camel ate, because I'm going to give you basically an encrypted sentence that shows you all the polyatomic ions whose names end in ate. So nitrate, the one that has carbon in it, so carbonate. The one that has chlorine in it, or chlorate. The one that has phosphorus in it, or phosphate. And also the one that has chromium in it, or chromate. Alright, if you look up the formulas of the polyatomic ions on this table, you will notice, let me focus this a little bit here, that every single polyatomic, or most of them anyways, after the first element, the second element that you see in those formulas is oxygen. So these are all substances that have oxygen in them. So we're going to write that as the second element in these polyatomic ions. All right. Well, how do we come up with the formula for nitrate? Well, in order to do that, you look at the word Nick. And what you're going to do is you're going to count up the number of consonants and the number of vowels. So remember, vowels are A, E, I, and O, and U. Consonants is everything that's not a vowel, right? So if you count up the number of consonants that are in the word Nick, you see that there are 1, 2, 3 consonants. That's the subscript on the oxygen and nitrate. The number of vowels that you have is the charge. And if you look at that polyatomic ion table, pretty much, I would say 99% of the polyatomic ions on that table all have a minus charge. All right. So the formula for nitrate is NO3 1-. So again, the top number, you can derive it by counting the number of vowels. The bottom number you derive by counting the number of consonants. Alright, so let's try the formula for carbonate. How can I get the formula for carbonate out of the word camel? So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3 consonants. That's how many oxygens are in carbonate. 1, 2 vowels. The charge for carbonate is 2-. Alright, what about chlorate? There are 1, 2, 3 consonants, 1 vowel, so the charge is 1-. That's chlorate, ClO3 1-. How about phosphate? That comes from the word phoenix. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 consonants. There are 1, 2, 3 vowels. All right? So the formula for phosphate is PO4 3-. How about chromate? Chromate has 1, 2, 3, 4 consonants, 1, 2 vowels. So the formula for chromate is CrO4 2-. Now, if you look at the polyatomic ion table a little further, you'll notice that, okay, so there's sulfate, and then there's also sulfite. There is nitrate, and there's also nitrite. And the difference between sulfate and sulfite and nitrate is that the ite versions of these polyatomic ions have 1 fewer oxygen. They have 1 less oxygen, but the charge remains the same. All right, so if you wanted to memorize, we'll get a couple more polyatomic ions out of this. We could probably get the formula out of nitrite. There's no such thing as carbonite, except for, of course, in Star Wars movies. There is chlorite. There is phosphite. And there's no such thing as chromite. So let's see, the formula for nitrite would be 1 less oxygen than nitrate, but it's still the same charge. The formula for chlorite is 1 less oxygen than chlorate, but it's still the same charge. And the formula for phosphite is 1 less oxygen than phosphate, but again, it's still the same charge. So of like the 14 things that you're going to have to memorize off that table off eCampus, look, we already got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 without really having to do a whole lot of work besides just memorize the sentence. Nick the camel ate a clam and phoenix on top of crates. And remember that the vowels, the number of vowels in each word tell me the charge for each of these polyatomic ions, and then the number of consonants tell me how many oxygens are attached. All right, so